Broadcasting.
Notification. Now broadcasting.
Okay, this video is gonna be real short. Let me make sure the mic. Um,
Microphone unmuted.
okay, I just want to make sure my mic was on. This is gonna be a real short video. I just wanted to say, I don't know 100% if it's set in stone with the Street Fighter commandments of what you can and can't do, but I've noticed that after like your character's frame trap, most people don't try to go for a cross up after, like that's like, I feel like that's a legit option after that. Don't quote me on that, but I've been doing it to my opponents and it's been working wonderfully, and I usually 100% of the time get the cross up after the frame trap. But I never see anybody really do that. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong about that, but I feel like anytime I frame trap my opponent with the normal attack, every character is different. For example, like for Ken, it's standing medium punch, and for Ryu, I believe it's also standing medium punch. I believe he has a few others, like forward hard punch is a frame trap for Ryu, and also correct me if I'm wrong, but I think standing hard kick. No, not standing hard kick. I know Ken's standing hard kick is a frame trap. But the point I'm trying to make, that was just the point of the video. Like every character, I was trying it. Like it's weird. It's hard for me to do because my settings on my opponent is to get hit on training mode. So I can't really demonstrate it the way I really want to. But I feel like after a frame trap, you're able to act before your opponent, right? That's the main gist of it. So like, I mean, this is something I would do to an opponent that after a frame trap continues blocking. Like I would either try to grab them or go for a cross up in that situation. You get what I'm saying? Like to try to break their defense. Because I've played a lot of players that that I swear to God, like I've beaten them with just cross ups, like, and they can't defend against it. Like, and I'm talking about players that do amazing combo. They land one combo on you and win the round, and then like I'm breaking their defense with just basic cross up pressure and like, you know what I'm saying? So like that's why that's just a suggestion of mine. I don't want to make the video too long. My controller is jacked up right now, so that's why I have not been playing online. But that's the main point of the video, was just like, obviously after a frame trap, if your opponent likes to press a lot of buttons, you're gonna want to hit him with a normal attack that's gonna counter hit him, which in my opinion usually it depends on the spacing. I like if I'm further away, like Ken's frame trap is pretty close. So like the point I'm trying to make is that like Kimberly's frame trap is crouching medium kick. So I play both characters, you know what I'm saying? I play a few other characters, but if the frame trap hits max distance, then I would probably do maybe like standing medium punch or standing hard punch. I believe standing hard punch is not even legit, but I've caught plenty of players doing it. I think it is legit, but you're gonna have to discover what's like truly legit for your character. But like, let's say for example, the point I'm trying to make is that like if I do a frame trap with Kimberly and it's max distance crouching medium kick, my selection of options in that moment is going to be completely different than if I do crouching medium kick frame trap with Kimberly and I'm point blank range. If I'm like literally hugging my opponent, like so close that I could grab them, then that's going to be one of my options in the situation. Like if depending on where that crouching medium kick, your opponent blocks it, you know what I'm saying, is going to change my selection of options that I have available. Like if I'm right here, obviously grab is an option, and they really can't do nothing about that. But they can throw escape. And in fact, that's the right thing to do in the situation. But the problem with that is if your opponent walks out of throw range, you know, in that situation, and you commit to doing a throw, he's going to counter hit your throw attempts. So you have to be real careful of when you throw, because if you do it too early, you know what I'm saying, the game might register that you're trying to do a jab or a standing light kick or a crouching light kick. You get what I'm saying? Because oh, now you could see, in the older Street Fighter games, you could not crouch and grab at the same time. If you hold down, you could not throw. And I clearly remember making a video about that in Third Strike, that if you're crouching, you cannot throw escape, because to throw escape, you have to be standing. I was under the impression that in Third Strike, you could not throw escape. That's why Justin Wong in the video against Umahara in that famous Third Strike video, the parry video, he got thrown how many times? Two times in a row. And why was that? Was because he was crouching in the moment where his opponent was trying to grab him. He was crouching, and even if you try to grab, see, like right now I'm crouching and I'm pressing grab, and he automatically stands and try to break the grab. That's not how it was in Third Strike. In Third Strike, you had to legitimately stand to break a grab. So if you were crouch blocking, throw is a very strong tactic in Third Strike, as far as I know. You know, that beats an opponent that's crouch blocking, because you have to commit to standing, because now they changed it. You know what I'm saying? I thought that made the game a little bit better, but you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna end the video there. Like, I'm trying my best to explain the logic that I'm personally using. Like, if I try to frame trap my opponent, like I said, and he's very defensive, then I will throw in a cross up. I will test his ability to play defense. I will test his ability to, you know, I've played some of the best players, you know, some of the best players that they don't miss any combos. They do, you know, big combo damage on you. Anytime you make a mistake, they counter hit you. But then I do some cross up on them, and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to, you know, they don't know how to, you know, handle it. You know, they come from King of Fighters or something like that, where cross-ups is not even really an option. But in Street Fighter, it is, because you're hitting behind your opponent's defense. And that's very important to understand why that's important, because if he tries to anti-air you, he'll miss. And he'll get counter hit for real big damage, because, you get what I'm saying? So like during the frame trap, like if my opponent's playing real strong defense and I'm trying to grab him, he breaks out of the grab after a frame trap, then I'll start throwing in the cross up. You know what I'm saying? To keep the pressure going. You get what I'm saying? And believe it or not, a lot of times that does open up joystick players. I noticed that joystick players have a very difficult time defending against cross up high-low pressure. And, you know what I'm saying? It's very useful against joystick players, particularly. You know what I mean? But I guess, I don't know. I'm going to end the video there. I have been fiending a little bit to play some Street Fighter, but my controller's a little jacked up right now. And it's randomly pressing buttons on me. And that's like 99% of the time. That's the reason why I'm losing to, like, at all. You know what I mean? Because, like, I just don't, you know, I'm playing against players that, like, that's not going to hit. But the crouching, after cross up, only his level 1 and level 2 combo after that, unfortunately. Unless you do the EX. Unless you do the EX. Unless you do the EX. Unless you do the EX and cancel into a jab. I mean, combo into a jab. Because the EX spin kick, which, you know, I always tell players, if you're playing Ken, that spin kick, that EX, that drive meter spin kick in the air, man, that's against zoners. You know, I know you can do the drive impact. I highly recommend probably doing drive impact instead, because it's way easier. But I'm gonna end the video there. You know, you have to understand that, you know, your character has way more than one frame trap. A lot of people assume that, you know, oh, Ken, he's unfair because, you know, he has all these frame traps. No, every character has that. Every character has multiple frame traps. You have to find out which ones. I'm not gonna do the research for you. You have to do the research for you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, you know, Ken standing hard kick. If you're a Ken player, Ken standing hard kick, that's a frame trap. Very risky because a lot of high level players know that. A lot of high level players know that they can drive impact it because you can't special move cancel it, unfortunately, which I wish you could do. I wish you could special move cancel it. That way they do respect the standing hard kick. But what I like to do with Ken, instead of just doing a standing roundhouse that's easy to counter, I like to do the running standing roundhouse. And if you don't know, that's like when you activate the run with Ken with 2 kick buttons, he starts running. And you could cancel that. You could stop him running at any time by pressing light kick. So if you're constantly running and canceling, they never know when you're gonna really do something. You know, you could cancel into the uppercut with that. That beats drive impact. So if they like to drive impact a lot, and you're doing a lot of run canceling, you know what I'm saying? You can either stop running at all and block it, cancel his run and block it, or, you know, you could uppercut afterwards. You know what I'm saying? You could dragon punch afterwards. That beats drive impact clean. So like, if you notice that your opponent loves to drive impact you when you're doing run cancel, that's once they realize that you know you're stopping their drive impact with uppercut. You know, if they do decide to do that, if not, you know. You know what I'm saying? I love the. To be honest, I preferred the run option. The run option in Street Fighter V for Ken. I thought felt more seamless than it does now. Like, you can't do a lot of the cheap stuff that you could do with Ken in Street Fighter 6, like that he was able to do in Street Fighter 5. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the grab pressure after, like, is like way easier to stop in comparison to Street Fighter 5. But, you know, I'll leave it at that, man. That was the point of the video. I never see players doing it. I never see players going for cross-up after a frame trap. I don't understand why. That's a perfect time to do it. Because you can act before your opponent. You get what I'm saying? Like, the whole point of the frame trap is that you can act before your opponent. Before your opponent can do anything, you'll beat them to the punch. You're going to beat your opponent. No matter what they do, if you do it correctly, if they press a button, you'll counter hit them. If they don't press anything, you could grab them, but they can't throw escape. They still can throw escape, so that's the safer option, is to play defense and try to break the grab. But if you see that your opponent is constantly trying to grab, you're going to want to get them in the frame trap and then walk away from the grab. Just enough that if they try to grab you, they're going to miss, and the game is going to register that they try to do like a standing jab, a standing light kick, a crouching light kick, or a crouching jab. And the benefit of that is that if he thinks I'm going to go for a grab and I walk away from that and he misses his grab, now I can hit him with a standing hard punch or a standing medium punch. You know what I'm saying? I recommend going so far that you're like probably at hard punch range, and now you got a counter hit on them. So like, there's always something you could do in that situation. You have to understand what your opponent is good at. If your opponent is constantly trying to break your grab, you have to fake the grab. You have to frame trap them, get out of the way. That's why you see a lot of high level players, they'll frame trap you, and then all of a sudden they're over here, you're trying to grab, and they're counter hitting you already. So you have to be real careful, you know what I'm saying? Now, if you're not doing anything because you're afraid that you'd rather take the grab than a counter hit, and guess what? Your opponent's gonna grab you. And guess what? He'll probably do it again too. And guess what? After a few of those, it's like taking a combo. It takes a little bit longer. You know, in my opinion, I think grabs should do a little bit more damage, to be honest, because I feel like a lot of high level players are preaching, like Justin Wong, preaching just take the grab. No, you should never take the grab. You should always break the grab. You should always escape the grab. You should always escape the grab. Never say that. You know what I'm saying? I know he's world champ and all that, but never take the grab. Always escape the grab, because that's an option. If you're not escaping the grab and you're taking damage, you're not playing properly. That's my advice. You know what I'm saying? So really understand your opponent. Understand, after I frame trap him, is he standing? Is he crouch blocking? Is he standing? You get what I'm saying? Is he trying to walk away? The moment that I have him in the frame trap, is he trying to walk away? All right, I gotta hit him low, because now he's not blocking low anymore. Is he standing firm and trying to grab me? Okay, then let me walk out of grab range and counter him when he tries to go for grab. If not, I'm gonna try to do another frame trap maybe, or a cross up. If he's playing a lot of defense, I'm gonna play. You get what I'm saying? Like that's the power of that situation, and every character has it in the game. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, that's my best advice. Like, I just don't see people really utilizing all the options available to pressure your opponent and find the opening, because the best player in the world, it's possible to get them, because the game is real fast. Japanese fighting games have always been lightning fast, and it's only a matter of time till someone makes a mistake. You know what I'm saying? It's only a matter of time till your opponent makes a mistake. You have to exploit their weaknesses. You have to exploit their weaknesses, and you have to find their openings. You know what I'm saying? And really make them pay for it, and exploit them. You know what I'm saying? That's the objective. That's why you see me winning as fast as I do. You know, when I'm playing my opponent, a lot of people are wondering how I'm winning so fast, and it's not luck. I'm not playing the game trying to win and get lucky. I'm playing the game and I'm playing the strategy. I see my opponent likes to just think he's a top tier god in fighting games because he does a jump kick and he tries to jab and grab you. You know, I'm analyzing all that. I'm recognizing everything he's doing. That's not a true block string. That's not a true block string. It never has been. If you were good enough to do an invincible reversal in between two crouching light kicks on block, or two crouching jabs on block, or super them in between that was never true. A lot of people assume that it's true because they see a lot of people doing it and getting away with it online. But when you're playing in person, that's not true at all. You know what I'm saying? So while you know, these are things that is all new to you. I've known this since I've been, you know, basically since I was a little kid. I've known this. You know what I'm saying? Because you play the computer so much and you see what they're doing, and you start putting it into your game plan. You know, it's no secret. Like, anyone that's ever played the computer has learned a thing or two, because it's designed to beat your strength. It's designed to exploit your weakness, and it's designed to counter you when you make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? If you do nothing to the computer, what do they usually do? They grab you, right? And you have to escape the grab now. You know what I'm saying? So that's my best advice to like new players and intermediate players that think they're guys like me, but really are not. Is because, you know, in every one of those situations, there's something you could do to either defend against it or counter it. If it's not a true combo, you can exploit it. It usually takes meter. So when your opponent doesn't have meter is when you could really get away with pressuring them with things that normally would not work on a player that's really good when they have meter. Like, for example, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could probably pressure your opponent with nothing but standing jabs back to back to back when he has no meter, because he can't really reversal it. He can't do an invincible reversal in that situation. So now you'll be able to probably grab him more, because now he's scared to press buttons on the jab. You know what I'm saying? If you land it, obviously you combo it, but you know what I'm saying? That's not true. On block, that's not true. If you do more than one on block, you can get countered on the second hit, on the second attempt. most high level players don't go for it because it's much harder to do, and you know, it still counts as a counter hit. I do it all the time, even online. People think I'm getting lucky, but I just understand my opponent that good. And everyone keeps thinking, oh, he's just guessing. Oh, he's getting lucky. No, I understand my opponent that well. And that's what you have to do to win. You have to understand what your opponent's good at, what their weaknesses are, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. You know, that's all important information that you have to understand and put into your game plan against them. If he's not good at breaking grabs, you got to exploit that. If he always tries to jump, neutral jump when he thinks you're gonna frame trap him and try to go for a grab, he likes to jump back. Guess what? I'm jumping in the air with him, and I'm air to airing him with an early jump kick or something like that, and I'm counter hitting him in the air. Now we're back to neutral again. Now we're probably point blank after that, and I'll be able to act first before him, but I do have to worry about invincible reversal. So, like, you know, you have to understand that. If your opponent likes to neutral jump thinking you're going to grab him and counter hit you on the way down, you know what I'm saying? You have to exploit that and get ready to anti-air. You know what I'm saying? If you know, this, it's the logic of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll end it at that. Like I said, no one ever uses Ken's standing hard kick frame trap. That's been a frame trap since the very beginning. Since they added it in when they added it in Super or Super Turbo, right? He always had standing hard kick. You know what I'm saying? I always felt like those bad buttons were some of the best buttons in the game because they give the illusion that they're so bad, but they're actually really good. Like this move right here from Ken. That move looks very bad. In fact, I wish it had projectile invincibility at a certain point in the animation. I think that's the only thing it lacks, is having projectile invincibility at a certain point. You know, obviously I wouldn't do it right away, but like at a certain point in the animation, I feel like he leaves the ground and they should have to respect the fact that they did it, or maybe get out of the way of the fact that he did it. But like, you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you know, this looks like a terrible move, but it's one of Ken's best moves. But guess what? You could counter him on the way in. So is it really that good, or should you understand your opponent so good that you know he's playing defensive? You know he's not really doing nothing. You know he's walking forward. You know what I'm saying? You know, these are things that you have to understand. Like, you know, I tried to explain the logic that I'm personally using when I play Street Fighter. You know, Street Fighter is a different kind of fighting game. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't heavily rely on combo strings like Tekken and Mortal Kombat do, and Soul Calibur and Virtual Fighter. It doesn't rely on combo strings like those games do. It relies on you being able to, you know, basically frame trap your opponent, grab them, or counter them for trying to get out of the frame trap, block their invincible reversal, frame trap your opponent, and you know, block, because a lot of high level players like to invincible reversal through the frame trap, which you can do, but only with meter. So if you have a level 3 super or an invincible reversal like Ken's drive meter uppercut or Guile's flash kick, it will go through that. But you also have to keep that in mind, that your opponent might not do that again. You know what I'm saying? Your opponent might not do that again. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that works for me all the time. But that's only because I'm analyzing my opponent and what they're doing. Now, if you're playing an opponent that really likes to mix it up and not do too much, you know, and like to stand and jab does not have a lot of range. So just a slight walk back can get them to miss a standing light kick or a standing jab. And believe it or not, it's easier to counter hit those attacks probably than any other time in Street Fighter history. You know, counter hitting those attacks in the earlier games was almost impossible. That's why it was so good and so unstoppable of a tactic. But now, like, you could really easily counter hit them for doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's my best advice to a beginner player and an intermediate player. You know, as a longtime high-level player of Street Fighter and fighting games in general, particularly Street Fighter, has always been my favorite fighting game, like ever since I was young. You know what I'm saying? When I was a little kid. But I love it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I think it's a, you know, it's the grandfather of all fighting games. It's the godfather of all fighting games. You know what I'm saying? It really started it all. The competitive fighting scene. If you ever made money in the competitive fighting scene by sponsorships or by winning tournaments, you could really thank Capcom and Street Fighter, because they were the first to really design a competitive fighting game that actually set the standard. Tekken and Mortal Kombat would probably not even exist if it were not for Street Fighter. So all you guys, like, you know, I do state my opinion sometimes a little bit harshly, but I'm just such a fan, and in the heat of the moment, I might say it in a way that I normally probably not supposed to say it, but you know what I'm saying? A lot of times I'm just trying to make people laugh too, but you know, I am trying to make you laugh, you know what I'm saying? But, and exaggerate it, but you know, I really do, you know, I understand that the developers have, you know, designed the game for a reason a lot of times, and 99% of the time they are right. But when standing hard kick that takes forever to come out loses to drive impact, I think there's something wrong with that, because, you know, in other words, it's a useless button unless they miss like a uppercut, you know, a dragon punch or something like that, or a flash kick. You know, it's a useless button, and even still, it's still kind of hard to counter them with. And even still, I would rather, as a Ken player, counter them with standing hard punch, which I feel comes out faster and has better combo possibilities afterwards. Whereas if you counter hit your opponent with standing hard kick, they go flying away from you, and then you either, which I recommend to do, is run cancel into Dragon Lash after that, and then you get a free uppercut after that, and you can level 3 them after that. So it gives you way more options. You can level 1 them, you can level 2 them, you can level 3 them, you can uppercut them. You know, there's a lot of things you can really do in that situation, you know what I mean? But you know, I didn't want to make the video too long. Like I said, every character has their moments that they could really frame trap you and put you in a sticky situation. You know, as a high level player, I recommend trying to play really good defense and escape the grab. If they try to grab you, if they try to shimmy you, I would say hit them low. But the problem with that is when you're in a frame trap, you won't be able to shimmy them before they counter hit you. But if they take too long to counter hit you, obviously you're going to hit them low. But I don't recommend even doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because during the frame trap, they're going to be able to act before you. And if you try to do anything, you're going to get counter hit basically. So there's moments where it's not really a frame trap, but high level players respect it. Like, for example, I mean, they'll do a jump kick. Like, for example, this is a fake. As far as I'm concerned, this is I wouldn't really consider this a frame trap, but a lot of people, high level players, use it as if it was one, even though it's not really has to be respected unless they combo it. Obviously, you have to respect that. But if they do, let's say for example, they try to jump a fireball or something like that, and you block their jump kick, a lot of high level players will continue to play defense after that, because in the time that they, you know, especially if they time it correctly, they can hit you with like a crouching light kick before you ever have the ability to really do the dragon punch motion and counter hit them. So even though it's not really a frame trap, a lot of high level players respect it as if it was one. And that's one of those situations where if they try to shimmy you during that kind of particular moment, then I would try to hit them low in that situation if they try to shimmy you. That's the only time I would ever try to hit them low, if they try to shimmy me. Shimmy me is like when you have your opponent in grab range and then you walk out of it real fast. Like you give the illusion that you're about to grab your opponent and then you walk away from it. And then they try to grab, and when they miss that grab, you counter hit with standing hard punch or standing medium punch, crouching medium kick, anything really, anything that can get there in time. You know, for Ken, I would probably do a crouching medium kick. It has real good range, it's pretty fast. You know what I'm saying? It's faster than standing hard punch. Obviously, standing hard punch does more damage, and it's harder to, you know, counter hit their grab attempts. You know, that's my best advice. You know, I'm trying my best to I'm like the Moses of Street Fighter for you guys right now. I'm trying to, you know, chisel the 10 Street Fighter commandments for you guys, so you know, you can take that to the next level with you. You know what I'm saying? That's the logic and the approach that I'm doing when I'm playing the game. You know what I'm saying? Every opponent is different. You're gonna play a lot of beginner players that they never respect anything you do. You frame trap them, they press a button, they get counter hit. You try to frame trap them with the same exact button, and they do it again. You cannot condition them. No matter what, they're gonna try to uppercut you. No matter what, they're gonna try to invincible reversal you. Block them. If they always like to try to go through your frame trap pressure, or because as far as I know, that's the only thing that legitimately goes through a frame trap is the drive meter or the super. But the thing with that is, as far as I know, this is the strategy I'm using. You know what I'm saying? I know for a fact it does go through it. You know, maybe my opponent was not using the right button in frame trap, but these are things that I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? If they're frame trapping me and they're right here, obviously I'm not going to go for an invincible reversal because it's too risky. They could jab me before I ever do the entire, before I put the motion in, before I do the motion input that activates the invincible reversal. The standing jab, crouching light kick is going to beat me. It's going to beat me for trying. So if you're playing against an opponent that always loves to uppercut and do invincible reversals, that is the proper thing to do. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna frame trap them. You know, you're gonna do a jump kick, and maybe it depends. You know, it's like I said, fighting games have always been situational. There's a lot of factors at play. How good is your opponent? What, you know, how you know, what do they like to do? How risky is what they're doing? Are they trying to get lucky, or are they legitimately trying to, you know, play with skill? You know, I've always considered myself to be a player that relies on skill over luck. I do not even try to attempt to do anything lucky. You know what I'm saying? A lot of players think I'm getting lucky all the time. Is that no, I'm just understanding my opponent, I'm reading my opponent, and I'm exploiting their weaknesses. They think they got the game all figured out because they could do standing jab and grab you. Okay? They think they got it all figured out, and they think they're fighting game gods because they have that one little area of the game figured out. But what they don't know is that during like third strike or anything before that, it was even harder to do that. And it was even harder to escape that. Now it's not as hard to escape that anymore. So you have to be real careful. In my opinion, you know, it's very situational. If you have an opponent that you can exploit in situations where constantly throwing out that jab is going to beat them for trying to counter hit you, then you do it. But if you're playing against an opponent that's playing rock solid defense and he's blocking everything, then you're gonna have to find other ways and other methods to with frame traps or cross-ups to break their defense and find a weakness. You know, that's not gonna entirely hit, but you can get another one afterwards. All right, man, I'm done with the video. I just wanted to prove that you can you can raw level 3, but it doesn't do the entire animation after a cross-up spin kick. So I don't recommend doing it at all, basically. But that's the, you know, I'm gonna end the video there, man. You know, I never see anyone go for the cross-up after the frame trap. Like I said, it works for me. you know, I don't know how set in stone that is, but I've caught plenty of opponents, you know, with that. And in fact, I'm like the only player that ever does it. And then people talking trash about my game and my strategy and my game plan. And then they're writing on a notebook, okay, let me, oh, I didn't know that. Let me do that. But he's trash though. But you taking tips from me and I'm trash. Okay, so I'm gonna end the video there, man. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to help you elevate your game. You know what I'm saying? And that's the end of it, man. I'm gonna end it right there.
Broadcast.